Evening, everyone. So it's a pleasure to see you all, and I'm looking forward to listening to Dr. Shona Nag, my dear friend from Pune. She has more than two decades of experience in treating breast cancer patients. We were together in Tata Hospital in early 90s, I remember. So please put your questions on the chat box, and I can moderate towards the end, and we'll try and address all the questions and issues. Over to you, Shona.
Yeah, so good evening to all of you and welcome to our Young and Strong support group. And today's topic that was given to me was long-term effects of hormonal therapy. There is a lot to cover, but I thought I will just talk of the common issues that women face while taking their hormonal therapy. And seriously, there is a lot we can do about it. And the most important thing or message to be taken home is that please take your treatment. The treatment will only work for as long as you take it. So it's very, very important to take the tablets as they are prescribed by oncologist. So a lot of patients ask me, what is this ER and what is this PR? What is the estrogen receptor and the progesterone receptor? And you must know these things because it is important for you to know about your disease. So when we say ER and PR positive breast cancer or hormone receptor positive breast cancer, we mean a tumor with receptors to the two female hormones that we have. And we all have estrogen and progesterone in our bodies. But these receptors get expressed on the tumor cell, and therefore we can block them with different hormonal treatments. They make up 75% of all breast cancers in the West. In India, however, because of our younger population, the ER positive rate is lower and it is around 55 to 60% from most of the data that is available. So, what does it really look like? And it's quite simple. If you look on the left side here, this is what a ER positive tumor looks like. You can see this brown dots. So this is the estrogen receptor stain, which is staining the estrogen receptor positive cells brown color. It is a nuclear stain. That means the stain is present in the middle of the cell. Look on your right side. Here, another tumor has been stained with the estrogen receptor stain, but because it is negative, it is not picking up any of the stain. And you can see that none of these cells here are brown in color. So this is a estrogen receptor negative tumor. And these tumors do not respond to hormonal therapy. So estrogen and progesterone can stimulate the growth of these breast cancer cells. And we give hormone therapy to block this stimulation. And we call this anti-hormonal therapy. And the treatment options depend on whether the lady is in menopause or not in menopause. The sources of estrogen inside our body on a normal day-to-day basis is when we are not yet menopausal, that is, we are younger than 45 or 50, it is the ovaries in our body that create and produce the estrogen. After menopause, however, the ovaries stop functioning. So this function of producing estrogen, although these estrogens are not as strong and in as large quantity as we are before menopause, is taken over by different parts of the body. It could be the breast tumor cell itself. It is subcutaneous fat, which is present under your skin. And that's why we keep telling women to lose weight so that they can store less estrogen inside their body. Or it could be the liver, or it could even be the muscle tissue. So the options for anti-hormonal therapy for breast cancer are different for premenopausal and postmenopausal women. In premenopausal women, the drug that we commonly prescribe, is tamoxifen. And sometimes, and very often, especially if the woman has positive nodes, we will prescribe either removal of the ovaries or monthly injections which suppress the ovaries and stop their functioning. In postmenopausal women, we have two choices. We can either use tamoxifen or we can use a group of drugs that probably some of you are already on called the aromatase inhibitors. There are three of these in the market. There is anastrozole, also marketed in different names like Altraz, Arimidex, or Letrozole, which is marketed as Femara, Letrose, etc., or Exemestane, which is marketed as Extane, one of the names. How do these hormone therapies work? So if we are thinking of the aromatase inhibitors, that is letrozole and estrozole and exemestane, they decrease the production of estrogen by inhibiting an enzyme called aromatase and preventing the conversion of androstenedione to estradiol, which is nothing but estrogen. How does tamoxifen work? Tamoxifen, so this works actually outside the cell, whereas tamoxifen actually works inside the breast cancer cell. And normally, in a normal woman, estrogen will combine with something known as an estrogen receptor, and it will cause growth of the cell. Here, the estrogen is, instead of estrogen combining, the tamoxifen happens to combine with the estrogen receptor, thus blocking it. So without available estrogen, the breast cancer cell is not able to grow. There are a lot of benefits of hormone therapy, and which is why we prescribe it to you. And it is shown that 5 years of anti-hormone therapy can prevent the breast cancer from coming back somewhere else in the body, breast cancer from returning to the same breast, a new breast cancer developing in the opposite breast, and it can also prevent dying from breast cancer. These benefits of hormone therapy will last well beyond the 5 years you take it. So the protection will last for 10, 15, and sometimes even 20 years. The benefits of hormone therapy: tamoxifen, a 12% reduction in breast cancer risk, recurrence risk, a 9% reduction in dying from breast cancer, and with the aromatase inhibitors over and above tamoxifen, there is a further 3% risk reduction of the breast cancer coming back. So it's not 12%, it's 15%. And similar reduction in death from breast cancer. All three of these aromatase inhibitors, letrozole and estrozole and exemestane, have equivalent effect and equivalent benefit. When does one normally start hormonal therapy? About a month and a half after surgery, usually after all the chemotherapy is over, in case you have had to take it. And you can start it either during radiation or after the radiotherapy is over. How long do you take these drugs? So earlier we used to be stuck on giving 5 years, but there is recent data to show that in some patients, especially if it's a large tumor of about 3, 4, or 5 centimeters, if it's high grade, if the nodes were positive, we may like to give it for 10 years, because 10 years has been shown to be better than 5 years by 3 to 4%. We also, in some cases, do tamoxifen for 5 years and anastrozole, letrozole for 5 years. This is better than just giving tamoxifen alone for 5 years. Remember, this is if your risk of it coming back is high. Not every patient will be prescribed this treatment. Then you can give letrozole or anastrozole for 5 years. At this point of this slide, there was no data for beyond 5 years, but today there is data to show that beyond 5 years, 7, 8, and even 10 years can be given with good benefit. Of course, there are many side effects. So one point I would like to make is, since we are increasing the duration of the treatment for these hormonal agents, we are also increasing your risk of getting these side effects. And therefore, it is very important to know what they can be. So we know that many healthy tissues benefit from estrogen. We are all women. So estrogen preserves our vaginal health. It keeps our brain functioning. It keeps our skin good. It keeps our heart well, and it keeps our bones strong. Menopause is something we all undergo at some point during our lives. And that happens when estrogen is blocked. It can be due to tamoxifen, or it can be a natural menopause, or it can also be when the estrogen levels are reduced by aromatase inhibitors. So what is hormonal therapy essentially doing? It is essentially creating a menopause-like state in your body. Now, you know, with menopause come a whole lot of side effects, and that tends to get exaggerated on hormonal therapy. So if you look at the adverse effect or side effect classification from hormonal therapy, there is cardiovascular issues, most important musculoskeletal issues, gynecological issues, and climacteric means nothing but menopausal issues, including hot flashes, sexual dysfunction, and neuropsychological issues. So there a lot of the studies were done because, see, women on hormonal therapy are expected to live very long and are expected to get cured. So when you talk of curing breast cancer, then the side effects and the quality of life become very, very important to women. So the AIs or the aromatase inhibitors, letrozole and anastrozole, are definitely shown to be associated with a greater loss of bone density and increased risk of bone fracture compared to tamoxifen, almost 2 to 4% more. But the studies that noticed this did not include bone density, but we have learned better. So very often your oncologist, before you start on any of these drugs like anastrozole and letrozole, will ask for a baseline DEXA scan or bone density to see what is your fracture risk, what is your bone health like, how much bone loss do you already have. And once you stop the AI after 5 years or 10 years, these drugs, then the bone loss also stops. And if it is very bad, your doctor may actually switch you over to tamoxifen from anastrozole or letrozole. There are other ways to counter this. Weight bearing exercise is excellent. I know a lot of you have been told after the surgery, don't lift heavy weights, especially with that operated arm. I'm not saying lift very heavy weights. 2 pounds is fine. 3 pounds is fine. Do lower body strengthening. Nobody has prevented you from doing that. Smoking cessation, limitation of alcohol, take your calcium and vitamin D supplements. They are important. We say 600 to 1000 milligrams of calcium a day, okay, is very, very important. And if you're taking good amounts of milk, yogurt, cheese, fish, tofu, vegetables like spinach and kale, these are very, very rich in calcium, then you may not, or you may have to take less supplements. Another side effect that a lot of women come to me with is joint pain and muscle pain. This is stiffness, this is achiness, this is the fingers getting cramped, the feet getting cramped, one side more than the other side, but not associated with any rheumatic disorders. And it can occur up to half of women. It is more common with anastrozole and letrozole versus tamoxifen. And most patients have mild symptoms. They'll say, doc, early in the morning, very difficult to open my fingers, move my wrist properly, move my feet. This is a typical effect of this class of drugs. This improves over time, but the patient needs to be aware of it. Very rarely we give analgesics. Long-term analgesic use is harmful. You can use heat pads. Exercise, weight loss helps a lot. It puts less weight on the joints. Physical therapy, sometimes changing from anastrozole to letrozole, letrozole to exmestane may help. If it is very severe and my patients just can't bear it, I switch them back to tamoxifen. And there are some studies to show that simple interventions like acupuncture, if any of you have access to it from a good trained acupuncture specialist, and you are suffering from these musculoskeletal pains, there is good data, randomized data to show that women who did opt for this acupuncture did seem to benefit. It's usually given for about 12, it's a 12-week acupuncture course. All right, so this is something you can consider. Then we do use topical creams. High dose vitamin D has been shown to help. Sleep disturbance. So sleep disturbance can lead to a lot of problems. It can cause a lot of muscle pain and fatigue, which worsens these joint symptoms. So you treat your sleep disturbance. Sometimes you may, if it's very severe, discontinue the medication. In fact, there is a study to show that you can, and I'm not saying this for an easy way out, but only in very severe cases, we do give a couple of months break in a year for patients on these drugs and then put them back on it. So there is data, and if you are really troubled, talk to your oncologist. Do not do this on your own. And of course, there are other ways of diagnosing this, but this is all under research still. What about the gynecological effects? So gynec effects are more common on the drug tamoxifen, and there is a risk of uterine cancer, especially when you have extended the therapy from 5 to 10 years. A lot of women get thickening of the lining of the uterus, And this is usually benign. You don't need to worry about it. But yes, if a woman has bleeding on tamoxifen, her periods have stopped. Usually when you take tamoxifen, your periods stop. Suddenly, you've taken tamoxifen for a year or two, your uterine lining is on the thicker side, and you experience a breakthrough bleeding, don't ignore it. Please go to your gynecologist. It could be an abnormality in the uterus, which needs to be picked up and diagnosed. So you have to work up the vaginal bleeding. Your doctor may recommend endometrial ultrasound or a biopsy, may switch you from tamoxifen to one of these other anastrozole, letrozole-like drugs. And if you have a vaginal discharge, which is seen commonly with tamoxifen, then antifungals, antibiotics, all these normal gynecological treatments are advised. Hot flashes are a very common problem. So, like I said, the menopause symptoms are coming earlier, and we all go through hot flashes. But when they come to a woman on tamoxifen or anastrozole, letrozole at a younger age, they are extremely, extremely disturbing. So you get the sudden sweat, you feel hot, everything stops moving for some time, and you feel acutely uncomfortable. It is reported in almost half the patients. Sleep disturbance can continue because of this, and it occurs due to estrogen withdrawal, and it is something that we need to handle. And you can dress in layers, you can use a lot of drug therapies, but really I have found the best way to handle these symptoms in a woman, having been through menopause myself, are simple things like yoga, exercise, and meditation. So there are a whole lot of drugs which have been studied to help hot flashes. So there are drugs like venlafaxine, which is nothing but an antidepressant. I do use it for my patients in very severe cases. There is another drug which is now shown to be useful called duloxetine. It is also a type of antidepressant. It is given 30 to 60 milligrams a day. So if things get really bad, you can certainly talk to your oncologist about these tablets. There are other tablets like gabapentin, which we use for your tingling, numbness, and neuropathy, which may be useful for hot flashes, clonidine. And there are other drugs like hormones, which you would take if you did not have a history of breast cancer. These drugs have no proven long-term safety in women with breast cancer. So please don't take hormone replacement therapy. It is really not recommended for you. Again, like I said, relaxation techniques, massage, reflexology, yoga, these are helpful. There are many natural preparations like black cohosh. There is evening primrose oil, vitamin E, but they are not of proven benefit. And then you've all heard, while some of you were on chemotherapy, you became absent-minded, you became forgetful. This went on for a year or two. You had trouble concentrating. So it was called a chemo brain. But there is such a thing as an endocrine brain also, where you can have effects where your memory loss happens, your focus goes away. This goes away ultimately. You do get used to it, all right? But again, have work on getting rid of sleep disturbance, help the depression, treat the fatigue by exercising, and even again, acupuncture seems to help in select cases. There is a lot of sexual dysfunction, especially in women who are on anastrozole and letrozole. There's terrible vaginal dryness. There is terrible pain during sexual contact. And this has a terrible impact on quality of life. I know in India, we're very, very shy to talk about these things. And very often what will happen is that the lady will remain in the room and she'll ask her husband to leave. And then she will ask me very sweetly, is it okay? What should I do? It's very painful. Can you prescribe something? And I do feel bad because I think these things need to come out in the open, and we need to be far more open with our needs. Sexual contact, having a good sexual life, feeling attractive as a woman is very, very important for our mental health. And we really need to work on this. So for the dryness, we recommend lubricants, moisturizers. Now, again, if you didn't have breast cancer, there are a lot of these estrogen vaginal creams and suppositories. But the use in breast cancer patients is controversial. However, it has been shown to be safe if it is used for a limited time, like 2 and 3 months. Again, do not do any of this without discussing it with your oncologist and your gynecologist. Like I said, antidepressants when required, counseling, better physician-patient communication is key. Something simple like our yoga, including pelvic floor relaxation exercises, can help with this dysfunction. Okay, so it's important to explore that. Now, what are the less common side effects? So before I sign off, I'll just tell you this before we open up to questions and answers. So dry skin, weight gain. Now, a lot of women are very naughty. They blame tamoxifen for all the weight that they put on, and that's not true. Women do let themselves go. Please control your diet. Please have an exercise. Don't let go just because you've had breast cancer. Get back to normal. Life is there to be lived, and it has to be lived well. So take care of that weight gain. Reducing weight also reduces your recurrence chance by as much as 5%, and this is scientifically proved. So that's a natural way of reducing your recurrence and keeping breast cancer away. Mood changes, mood swings, all of us go through, but it may be more pronounced on tamoxifen. The rarer side effects are blood clots, and women who go in for a surgery, who go in for air travel, who go in for, have very sedentary lives and are obese, are more at risk for these blood clots. How do you find out or figure out you've got one? Your leg suddenly, one of your legs will swell up. It'll become painful. When you touch it, it'll be tender. Please do not ignore this symptom. Go to your doctor immediately. Uterine cancer, I've already mentioned. Some studies have shown as much as it's not 4 in 100, please, it's 4 in 1,000. So this is a wrong figure. Don't panic. It rarely happens. And since we are monitoring your ultrasound for your uterine thickness all the time, if we have to catch it, we'll catch it very early. I've had a couple of patients in the last 20 years who've had this problem, but they've been treated, operated for it, and they are fine. There is also a risk of cataracts with tamoxifen, so you need to have regular eye checkups if you're on this drug. Anastrozole, letrozole, what are the less common side effects? Again, mood change and weight gain. I mentioned and we talked about fractures. They are rare, but they can happen. You can get an elevated cholesterol on these drugs and an increased cardiovascular risk. So please focus on eating right, especially if you're on these drugs. So this table is a technical table just to show you in pink that the side effects from anastrozole, letrozole are quite different, are similar to tamoxifen, but are also different in that the bone and the heart you see with anastrozole, letrozole, and the blood clots and the uterine thickness and cancer you see with tamoxifen. So they're also quite different. And managing these side effects is a task. Sometimes we oncologists have no other option but to switch drugs from one brand to another, sometimes from tamoxifen to anastrozole, letrozole, the other way around from anastrozole, letrozole to tamoxifen. Take small drug holidays. That's what we do recommend sometimes. But I will end with this slide just to reinforce the fact that many women do not comply with treatment properly. In fact, it is known that almost 1/2 to 1/3 drop out and do not complete the 5 years of treatment that they've been prescribed. And forget, I don't even want to think of the data that is the 10-year data. So just remember that the drug will work and protect you as long as you're taking it. Yes, there are side effects, but I'm sure in our discussion, we'll come up with ways to deal with these side effects because the benefits of these hormones are way, way greater than any side effect you might face. So thank you for your attention. And I'll give the floor back to Bhavna and request her to moderate the Q&A. Thank you.
Thank you, Shona. That was wonderful and quite comprehensive. We have a lot of questions.
Oh my.
So I'm going to let you have a glass of water. I'll take the first one. So the first one is, why 10 years now? We used to take it for 5 years. So I'll just add, and I'll let Shona take on that we did actually used to give hormone therapy for early breast cancer patients for 5 years. And we learned from our patients, from the clinical trials that we do. And what we did was we saw that patients, the cancer was coming back 10 years later, 7 years later in some patients. So what we did was, in a very scientific way, we gave half the ladies 5 years and half the ladies got 10 years of tamoxifen or the other endocrine therapy. But mainly with tamoxifen, these trials were run in premenopausal ladies. And what we found was that the ladies who got 10 years of tamoxifen had lived longer, and the chances of cancer coming back or recurrences was significantly lower. So this has actually become a standard of care now in majority of patients where the risk of recurrence is what we call intermediate to high. So not everybody is given 10 years of tamoxifen or endocrine treatment. At 5 years, actually, we have a very careful discussion. In fact, we have two algorithms now which help us in telling us that what is the risk of recurrence for a particular lady, let's say at 5 years. If you had a tumor which was less than 2 centimeter in size, grade 1, all the lymph nodes were negative, we would not recommend
Yeah,
10 years of therapy.
absolutely.
Would you agree, Shona?
Absolutely. So I clearly mentioned there that it is the high risk, the node positive, the really large tumors that you want to extend your treatment in, and it certainly isn't everybody. So this is a call you need to take with your doctor, and you must ask why the doctor is prescribing it. It is very, very important for you to know your own risk and for you to know what is being done about that risk.
So, and the next one is which option, ovaries removal or injection every 3 years? What would you recommend?
So actually, it depends again on the compliance of my patient. All right. And what I find is if the woman is over 40, 42, I usually do request them to remove their ovaries. It is the younger women in their 30s that are a little hesitant because after all, it's losing your ovaries and it's been just thrown into menopause. So there, I usually do recommend them starting on Zoladex. And actually, the studies have shown monthly injections to be more effective than 3 monthly. But however, there are also studies showing they're almost equivalent. So as long as they're doing either, again, not everybody needs this, okay? It is the higher risk woman that needs the ovarian suppression in addition to the tamoxifen. Would you agree with that, Bhavna?
I agree. I agree. Absolutely. And
So
I also recommend monthly injections if that's
yes,
done. Yeah.
yes. And sometimes monthly gets a bit much for women, which is why they do opt to have a oophorectomy. Remember, it's a laparoscopic procedure. So it's not like being in hospital for 4 or 5 days. It's 1 day hospitalization, and you're in and out, and it's simple to do.
So the next one is, I think you touched upon this, increased weight gain. She gained about 10 kilos. So some of the
Yeah.
questions are on the chat, but some have been sent privately. So the patient has not been able to lose the weight despite diet and exercise. So we know that women on chemo and do put on weight on an
Of
average
course,
3 to 5 kilos because we give steroids during chemo
yes,
for salt and
yes,
water retention.
yes.
But I think majority are able to. What do you think? I mean, what
It
else?
has to be a very motivated, Bhavna, I'm sorry, but losing weight for any woman is not easy.
I mean, I'm struggling.
Especially when you reach your 40s and 50s.
Yes,
And these are women who've been through so much. And then, I mean, you and I have not had steroid and we still grapple with losing weight. But
yes, yes,
these ladies have had steroid, they're on drugs like tamoxifen, which do cause all these estrogenic side effects. So, water retention and all this. So you have to be super motivated. And diet, now diet is a thing like we're going to address, I think, in a couple of weeks again. But diets is sometimes needs to be professionally managed, especially when you're looking at a weight loss of 5 kilos and 10 kilos. You can't do it on your own. You need professional help. So my only advice to these ladies is go and meet a proper dietitian who will monitor your weight for over 6 months and help you knock off those kilos that you need to. Because it's 70% diet, it's 30% exercise. We all know that.
I agree. So since just to share, since I have attained menopause, I'm finding it really hard, and I blame it on the menopause. But I cheat a lot. I've got a diet chart from a dietitian. But when we go out, I'll have a pudding, or it's so all of us do that.
Yeah.
So if you do it strictly and exercise, I think the downward journey will start.
Yeah.
So
don't be disheartened if you
Yes.
don't lose weight in the first couple of months. That's a problem with everybody, especially your body's trying to fight the drug as well. So be patient, give it 3 months, give it 6 months for any type of result to come. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think one has to be patient. So next question is, do we check estrogen levels? So probably no, we never do.
Unless my patient is on that Zoladex injection, yeah, and you're taking it once. So it's a good idea if they've not had their ovaries removed, you're aiming for ovarian suppression, you're giving the Zoladex monthly or 3 monthly. It's a good idea once in 6 months to just see the estrogen level to see if you've achieved the ovarian suppression. That's all.
So, but on tamoxifen, we would not.
No, you would not.
So what do you think is the best AI of the three?
And the data is all the same, please. There have been, so at a basic science level, one is shown to be a little more potent than the other. As the side effect profile goes for the bones, one is shown to be little, but honestly, they are all equivalent.
Yeah.
They are all the same. And it's what agrees with you.
Absolutely. When we did a study at the Marsden, I remember the FACE trial where we compared
Yes.
the Arimidex and letrozole.
Yes.
I mean, scientifically also, they were in patients pretty similar. So soya milk, is it good or bad? I think we'll address this in on 15th of March, just Food Matters. We'll have Shubham Pant talk about this. But what do you think? What do you tell your patients practically, Shona, about soya milk or soya products who are ER positive?
So if you're having it once a week or once in 2 weeks, I'm okay. But if you're going to drink a liter of it every day, or you're going to, like eat loads and loads of soya every day, like they do in the East, that is something I would not recommend.
Yeah, so I completely say the same thing. One occasionally is fine. Anything is moderation.
Yeah.
So what advice would you, I think I'm assuming that you're trying to get pregnant, and you're on tamoxifen. So what would you advise patients about getting pregnant if they're planning a family?
So the first thing is to check with your oncologist whether it is safe from your disease point of view to attempt pregnancy.
Yes.
Then if your oncologist says yes to you, you would stop the tamoxifen immediately. You would wait for a couple of months, at least 2-3 months before trying, because tamoxifen can cause abnormalities in the baby. All right. It is not a safe drug during pregnancy. And for young women who are on tamoxifen and accidentally get pregnant, we have gone so far as to recommend MTP. All right. So that's important to remember. Always check with your oncologist if it's safe. And if it is safe, then stop the drug.
Absolutely. The next question is thickness of endometrium. What do you think is abnormal?
So the most important thing to remember is that there are different cutoffs for menopause, premenopausal and menopausal women. For menopausal women, a thickness of 10 or 11 millimeters or more rings alarm bells. For a premenopausal, it can be as high as 13 to 15 millimeters. But if the woman suddenly, who's not had a period, who has a thickness of even 8 millimeters, and suddenly starts to bleed and spot, especially postmenopausal, she needs to get evaluated immediately. So the bleeding is also very important. It's not just the thickness. All
Yes,
right.
absolutely. So 52-year-old lady, 6 years post-treatment, hasn't had periods, has been put on tamoxifen for 10 years. So I think, again, not everybody who's postmenopausal is given an aromatase
Yes.
inhibitor. So it
Yes.
depends on the risk of your cancer. So whatever your oncologist has decided, I mean, if they've given you tamoxifen for 10 years, that probably is right. You're 6 years post-treatment. I mean, I think you're through the period where the risk of recurrence is the highest, is first 2 to 3 years. Do
Yes.
you agree, Shona, that not everybody
Yes.
uh,
Yes. Absolutely. Not everybody needs letrozole and anastrozole.
absolutely. So acupuncture on which body part?
So I'm not
So
the
I have had
acupuncture.
for
You've had
insomnia.
it?
I've had it for insomnia. They put the needles on the head.
Ah,
Thinking, for hot flushes, where do they put it? Does
so
anybody
so
know?
hot flashes, I don't know, but for musculoskeletal, they use special puncture points on the extremities,
Okay, okay. So
and
very
these
interesting.
needles, yeah. So I wouldn't know for hot flashes, but I think an expert should be able to help you, and I think it's worth doing if it's really troublesome.
We should actually have a session on acupressure and acupuncture, actually.
Maybe we should.
Yes.
Yes,
And see, okay, I'll put this down for the maybe April or May one.
yeah.
So there's one question. Oh, I have a very strong family history. How many years should I take Arimidex? So I am assuming you do not have breast cancer, or you have breast cancer, because if you do not have breast cancer, we do use tamoxifen as an aromatase inhibitor sometimes for chemo prevention. If you have a high risk, you carry the BRCA gene, or you are at a very high risk of developing breast cancer. So we call that pharmaco or chemo prevention. But otherwise, strong family history itself is not an indication for Arimidex. What do you say, Shona?
No, so absolutely. But if she is a survivor and she's taking Arimidex for her disease, then I suggest she should meet a genetic counselor and she should get some advice on whether she needs genetic testing or not. And your treatment will not differ whether you have a strong family history or not. If you have to take 10 years of a drug, irrespective of the family history, you have to take 10 years of the drug. So the family history is not going to come in there, but for future prevention strategies for the rest of the family, it might be worth knowing whether you're carrying a gene which has created this problem in the first place.
So she says, yes, I had breast cancer and I'm BRCA positive. I think so. You've answered that. So you don't
Yeah.
will not be treated any differently. It would be total duration is not more than 10 years for anyone, actually. So the next question is vaginal dryness. Which lubricant would you recommend? So
So this is a tough one. There's a lot out there. There are a lot of these KY jellies, but not all of them help. Uh, there is also a recommendation that, lignocaine, which is an anesthetic jelly, that is the one that should be applied immediately before intercourse and applied liberally. See, when you're applying lubricant, you don't just cover the mouth of your vagina. You actually take a huge a dollop of this lubricant and you insert it deep inside so that it coats every part of your vagina and and then wait for at least 60 seconds or at least 2 minutes for it to take some effect before the act is attempted. You have to give this lubricant a chance to act. There are very good KY jellies out there. There are imported ones available at your chemist. So please don't feel shy. Please ask for those.
great. So and another question is, can I drop Femara once a week and take it only 6 days a week? I think
My
you said
goodness.
compliance is very important. So what is your take on that?
My goodness. So this is something that, not many women ask me about this, but like I said, there has been a study where women have dropped it for a couple of months a year and then gone back onto it. But there is no data as far as I know, and maybe Bhavna will help me with that, for 6 days on and one day off, because that one day off is not going to make any difference. The
Yeah.
blood levels of Femara are going to last for a number of weeks in your body. So you're not going to reduce side effects by just dropping 1 day a week. It's going to psychologically perhaps help you, but it's not good. It doesn't make scientific sense.
So I agree with you, but what I have had is I've had some patients on tamoxifen where the side
Right.
effects have been quite difficult. So what we've done mutually is that they've taken 10 milligram on one day and 20 milligram on another day.
Yeah.
And so, but we've made it continuous, not given a gap.
Break, of course.
Yes.
Of
So that
course.
is something you could discuss with your oncologist.
Yes. Yes.
You take
Yes.
one day, you
Yeah.
take 2.5 or take
Yeah.
tablet the next day if
Yeah.
it's really bad.
Yeah,
But
because
that
I
is
think some low risk disease and DCIs, you can get away with just 5 milligrams
5
or something.
milligrams.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Absolutely.
the data is coming there. Yeah.
So the next question is, do you know of any home remedies for hot flushes? So I think you said wear light, loose clothes,
Yeah.
light fitting, and
Yeah.
so I don't think it.
Things like meditation, things like cutting out too much caffeine in your diet, possibly, things that aggravate, like when you're getting a premenstrual syndrome kind of before your periods, you should often avoid tea, coffee, too much carbohydrate. Try and follow simple things like that during the time of the hot flushes. And they do go away, they do get better, and meditation definitely helps.
Yeah. So I've got 3 questions on dairy. So, so I think we'll ask Shubham also on 15, but what would you say?
No, so there's all this stuff about Indian women only started getting breast cancer after they started drinking milk. Well, we may not be a milk drinking country, but we are a big yogurt eating country.
Yeah.
And to me, dairy is dairy. You're not going to differentiate between milk and yogurt and milk products. So I don't think drinking milk is bad, but suddenly upping your intake to like 2-3 glasses where you never had it is silly. So drink your half 1 glass of milk, keep it skimmed. Please don't drink full toned milk. It's full of fat. That's very bad for you. One thing I've become a believer in after last year's San Antonio is sugar.
Yeah, I mean,
So sugar creates a state of inflammation in your body, and that is something you need to get rid of. So if you can avoid sugar and substitute it with natural sweeteners, that's a much better option. So rather than cut out dairy, I would cut out sugar.
So yeah, I agree. And I think we had a very interesting presentation on low glycemic diet.
Correct. And you're supposed to, the ideal diet is a diabetic diet, which you're supposed to follow. So someone here has talked about low carbs. I think she's spot on.
Yeah.
So if you can just reduce the carbs by 20-25% in your diet, you'll feel better. Your cholesterol will come down. Your energy will go up. Your heart rate will go down. You will lose weight easily. It makes a big difference.
And we are very lucky in India to have jowar, bajra,
Exactly.
and
Exactly.
poha. All of these things are we can put lots of vegetables in. So in the West, I think it's more of an issue. But here we have amazing.
Here you can make rotis and dosas out of anything, Bhavna, even lentil, which then becomes a non-carbohydrate roti. It's
Absolutely.
crazy. I mean, the kind of variety we have here, no other country has. So we must explore that.
So, madam, I'm 39 years old right now, and Zoladex injection and Femara. Please suggest Zoladex injection is better or ovaries removal is better. 39 years. And on Letrozole and Zoladex.
And Zoladex monthly or 3 monthly?
So I'm assuming it's monthly.
Yeah.
So
I think if she's poor thing is fed up of the injections, and if cost is, it's not a cheap injection either. So I think getting your ovaries removed may not be a bad idea. You're close to 40 anyway.
Yeah,
so
especially
I think
if you have your family completed.
Yeah.
And then the next question, I think I've missed a few. I'm really sorry. I'm going to try and address all of them. So for breast problems, for acupuncture, they put needles in the breast. She had it for mastitis. And for breast hot flushes, homeopathy works wonders. So I think I have problems scrolling up. I'm trying. So pain while urinating once in 3 months, something to do with uterus, or there is no UTI, but why does this happen 1 or 2 days every 3 to 6 months?
So, if you're menopausal, then there is this menopausal genitourinary syndrome where your pelvic floor gets weak. You are prone to all these urinary issues. You may be having a low-grade bladder infection, which is a cystitis, which is very common in women because we have very short urethras. And rule out a vaginal infection as well, which is worsening this condition. So you need to meet your gynecologist for this, and they will definitely help you. And pelvic floor exercises will also help you, along with a good fluid intake, lots of water. And if it's burning, then a urine exam is required.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we'll take a couple more. So I was on tamoxifen, but as my endometrial lining had thickened, had to go for DNC, Curatage, and then switched over to Arimidex for past 2 years. High blood pressure for past 8 months. So is this normal with AI? So I think AIs can have an effect on the heart, and as you
Yes.
said, it can affect the lipid profile as well. So again, if you have high blood pressure, you should continue controlling it with antihypertensives. Anything you want to add, Shona?
No, perfect.
Yeah. So I was to take tamoxifen, Tomodex, but no longer available. Can I buy from other company?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, definitely.
Yes. Yes.
For osteoporosis, please suggest. So again, what I tend to, I think nowadays we give, I think there was a question on zoledronic acid. I'm sorry, I've missed it. But nowadays, for all postmenopausal ladies, on the YouTube there is a lecture by Rob Coleman actually, who's published the most on. We had him come to our support group meeting 3 months
Yes.
ago and talk. So I think we're giving it to all postmenopausal ladies, 6
We are.
or 3 years. So, but if you're on AI and if you have osteoporosis, I think I would start it a year later as well, which I've done with some patients a year later.
Absolutely. There's no reason not to start it. And the bonus is it's also shown a benefit in preventing breast cancer from going into your bones. So
Yes.
there's a double effect here. So it's a great drug to take, and it keeps your bones strong. So please take it.
Yes. And some patients who are needle phobic and who don't want it, sometimes abandonate is recommended once a month, but that dose is actually for osteopenia. If it's osteoporosis, you need to take that tablet every day actually. So but again, discuss with your oncologist.
Yeah, yeah.
So do tamoxifen increase the size of fibroids?
So I've already answered her. I've said not fibroids, but it can increase the thickness of your uterine lining.
Yes.
So it's not going to suddenly get fibroids to sprout up, but in general, the thickening of the uterus, the lining of the uterus can get thickened. And that's why your oncologist will ask for an ultrasound of your pelvis every year while you're on these drugs, and every 6 months if she thinks it's necessary.
Absolutely. Can zoledronic injections only be taken for maximum 3 years? No, I mean, I think you can take it for longer, especially if you have osteoporosis. What do you say? The trials were done for 3 years versus 5 years. What do you say, Shona?
So I give it for the entire 5 years. And
Yeah.
what I do is if they're having a problem coming in twice a year, I give 5 mg once a year, which is the dose for normal osteoporosis.
Yes.
Yeah, so you can either do that as well. But please remember, don't do dental work while you're on zoledronate, or get a clear chit from your oncologist, because these drugs can interfere with your teeth and they can cause a lot of tooth issues. So be very careful.
Okay, I think we'll take one last question,
Right?
because otherwise we're going to go on and on.
Yeah.
So stage 1 breast cancer, 42 years, on tamoxifen for 10 years. Premenopausal after 2 years, got bleeding 2 to 3 times since. I do regular TVS. scans endometrium 5 to 6 millimeter. Is this normal? Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Kaini said, I need not worry, but should consider hysterectomy. What do you suggest? I mean, I think 5 to 6 millimeters is normal. All of us have an
Absolutely. Absolutely.
yeah.
So unless are you still, the question is she still bleeding very heavily? And then don't do it for the thickness, but do it for a DUB. You know,
No,
a
she's
lot.
just simple bleeding,
No, then it's not an issue.
not an indication. I think mild bleeding every 2 months. So no, I wouldn't.
Yeah. No,
Wonderful. Thank you, Shona. Any
not
last
at all. Not
actually?
at all.
So thank you so much. And I think we're going to have Dr. Shubham Pant talk on food that matters. And I'm thinking we'll have a session on acupressure and acupuncture because I think this is something we've talked about a lot. Anything else, Shona, you want to say?
Nothing. Just take your tablets. Don't stop them on your own accord. Don't be frightened. We'll deal with your side effects. You just keep taking your tablet and it'll keep you going. Yeah.
So we'll all
thank you.
meet on 15th of March. That's the third Monday. Thank you
Great.
so much.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
everyone.
Bye.
Shona, thank you
Bye.
so much. Bye.
Bye.